So, as I said in the description of my Goodbye for 2 Years video, I have a lot of medical problems that prevented me from serving a traditional proselyting mission. I had to stay local to remain close to my doctors and specialists. So, what my service mission entailed was I lived at home with my family, but I served in the community and church. For a while, my schedule was on Mondays, I would go to the local hospital and serve in the Cancer Institute. I helped by wiping down services, getting snacks, drinks, blankets for the patients, pressing the button to open the door, and wheeling out patients. And this was special to me because my uncle Chad got leukemia in his mid-20s and he passed away. So for me, this was sort of a way to honor him by helping those in a similar situation. Also, I was in the hospital for a month after a surgery to correct an aortic aneurysm back in 2013. So I know what it's like to be in the hospital for an indefinite amount of time. You go a bit stir-crazy after a while. Tuesdays and Saturdays, I would serve at the Bishop's Storehouse. And what that is if someone in our church is in need of food because they're recently unemployed, they're retired, or otherwise, they go to their local bishop or ecclesiastical leader, and they plan out a 2-week menu based on what's available. It varies from area to area, but here the storehouse have pretty simple essentials. Frozen meats, canned food, refrigerated produce, other non-perishable foods, and household essentials such as baby wipes, soap, Ajax, things like that. The people who need it work it off by serving at places like the local vineyard, which is really cool because the storehouse here has raisins that are technically produced locally because the vineyard they're grown in is about 45 minutes that way. And we've actually done some service projects there where we'd take the grapes from the vineyard and we'd lay them out and turn them into raisins, and then we'd ship the raisins off to places that needed it. The dairy and meat there are usually produced at farms in Utah that are owned by the church. Normally, the people that come in are supposed to fill the orders themselves, but a lot of times the people who came in couldn't read, they didn't speak English, or they were otherwise physically incapable of filling the orders themselves. Or sometimes they'd be coming down from a town that was a couple hours away, and they would need the order filled. So when that happened, I would fill it. I'd see on the form, okay, this person needs 3 cans of chili, check that box. They need a pound of hot dogs, go get the hot dogs from the freezer, check that box. On Saturdays, I also got to wash the inside and outside of the delivery truck. So every other Tuesday, I would come about 3 hours earlier, which was about 5 or 6 a.m. every other Tuesday, so I could help fill the truck. The delivery truck went to towns that were a few hours away that didn't have a local storehouse. So when that happened, people would call in about 2 weeks in advance, and they'd order what they needed, or they would order it online. And so I, along with a few other groups of volunteers, would fill the orders for the trucks. I loved doing that. Another part of my service was doing family history work. I would do what's called indexing, which is where people submit photos of records such as World War II draft cards, and I would enter the information from the image into the system. And the computer would do its best to attach it to the person it came from. For example, it said on the card that Jack White was born in 1927, and he had a wife named Sally who died in 1956, and they were born here, and they died here, and they had a kid who was born here and died. The computer would attach it to what it thought was the closest match to the person based on those variables. There's some cool stuff and valuable skills doing that. I learned to be humble and grateful and have faith in God's plan, and more importantly, His timing. When I first started, I was super enthusiastic to serve, but after 3 months, my sister left for her proselyting mission in Ogden, Utah, and I frankly got a little bit jealous. I'm not proud to say that, but it needs to be admitted. I'm not perfect. I still get bad feelings like everyone else. And after that, I was not that enthusiastic, and I had a little bit of resentment towards people. Again, I'm not proud. I do regret those feelings I had, but I need to admit my faults. It's because when you're set apart, you take on the title of elder. So instead of calling me Josh, people were expected to call me Elder Hickey. Now, as you can probably imagine, when you're still living locally and going to the same church building and interacting with the same groups of people you've known for almost 3 years, or sometimes longer in most cases, they still know you as Josh. And out of habit, they call you Josh. And they get in trouble because they don't call you Elder Hickey. And at first, I let it slide. It was still everyone's transitional period, but after a few months of them calling me Josh instead of Elder Hickey, I started to get a bit annoyed towards them. I started to get thoughts like, they don't think of you as a real missionary. They're mocking you. Nobody would be calling you Josh if you left to teach somewhere else where nobody knows your first name, which I realized was not true, and that was Satan trying to discourage me. My mom definitely noticed what was going on with me, and she said something that changed my entire outlook on my mission. She said to me, "You may not be able to go out and teach, but you're still serving. Look at how Christ lived his life when he was on the earth. He went about feeding the hungry, healing the sick, and serving his fellow man. You are still being the Savior's representative on the earth by wearing his name on your badge and serving. You're also developing knowledge and skills that will help you in life. You're learning how the church welfare system works. You're helping to serve the sick as he did." And that made me feel better. But what really solidified my testimony that I was where I needed to be, when I needed to be there, was when the pandemic happened. When we learned that COVID-19 is a respiratory illness, and I have a disease called COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, and that's kind of like asthma, but it's different. It's in the same camp. It basically means I don't get enough air. I'll have coughing fits. I'll cough when I eat. These coughing fits can last forever. Basically, I have really, really bad lungs. And since that's a disease that attacks my lungs, that could have been really dangerous for me. And that was when my eyes really started to be opened as to the Lord's timing and everything in His hand in my life. I had wanted to serve outside the U.S. in a place like Italy or Canada. I wanted to experience a different culture, and I thought, maybe if I pray enough and have enough faith, I'll be healed enough to leave on a proselyting mission. If I take my medicine really diligently, if I go to all my doctor's appointments, if I follow everything to the letter, my body will fix itself. And I was wondering why that didn't happen. Well, when the pandemic outbreak happened, the church started bringing a lot of overseas missionaries home, including, you guessed it, Italy, which is where I was hoping to go. And that's when I realized, if I had left to go there, it would have been really dangerous for me. And I suddenly became a lot more humble and grateful towards the Lord. I may not have known that this craziness was going to happen, but He did. And He was taking care of me, even if it took 6 months into my mission to see it. So how did my mission work when the pandemic happened? Well, since I couldn't go out to my normal assignments, I had to stay indoors. But I was able to do a lot more scripture study, and I also had meetings over Zoom with the other service missionaries. So it turns out the very thing I was disappointed I couldn't do, which was teach people the gospel, I still got to do. Every week I had to send my mission leaders a report of my service activities. And when they realized I was having to be indefinitely quarantined, they said to include what I was learning in my studies in their reports. And I had some friends in my email list who were not members of my faith, so I still got to teach them. So in the end, it all worked out. And I was also blessed because when I left, I had just a little over 60 subscribers to this channel. And now I have 171. My subscriber count went from a little bit over 60 to 171, even though I uploaded nothing for 2 whole years. That is insane. I did not think that would happen. And it shows you guys really liked my content and you were willing to wait to see more. That is awesome. It means the world to me. Whether you've been here since the beginning of my channel, whether you did it when I was gone, or whatever point you subscribed, thank you to each and every one of you. I'm going to start working on my Star Wars vs. Skywalker review after this and a few others, so go ahead and watch those if you haven't already. I'm very excited to get back to talking movies, TV, and fandom. I have a ton of content plans. Here's how it's going to go. From now until the end of the year, it's going to be playing catch-up. I have a schedule that works out enough that I can catch up on the movies that came out, of which there were very few. But I have enough that I can plan it out so that it lasts until about September when Venom and Shang-Chi and stuff like that start coming out. October, I have some Halloween videos planned. November is my birthday month, so a lot of videos that month are going to be getting to know me videos, and that's top 10 guilty pleasure movies, favorite movie trilogies, things like that. And December will be like Christmas-themed videos and, the best movies of the end of the year, the worst movies at the end of the year. 2022 is where I'm going to really start putting content out. I've got so much planned. You're going to be so sick of me. So January, because it's a slower month, because as of now, I think the only movies coming out are Morbius and Sesame Street, of all things. I'm going to try and review every DreamWorks movie because there's like a bajillion of them, and there's enough that if I review a couple of them every day, because January is such a slow month, I need to keep putting content out. There's a lot of those. February, because it's Valentine's Day month, for the first 2 weeks of February at least, it's going to be rom-coms and stuff like that. But I'm also going to try and review the Fast and Furious movies because I've never seen them. I know. But from what I'm hearing, it's like, people have told me, knowing the kind of movies that I like, I would probably enjoy them. It's like, okay, I'll give those a shot. I'm also going to try and start doing throwback reviews every Tuesday and Thursday next year. I've got a few other ideas I'm trying to work out. But trust me, the 2 years I spent away from YouTube would be more than made up for. And I'm very excited. Thank you to everyone who waited for me. Thank you to all my new subscribers. That is awesome to me. Thank you all so much. And prepare for some awesome things coming.